In the quiet town of Fairhaven, nestled between dense forests and winding country roads, life moved slowly. It was the kind of place where people left their doors unlocked and waved to neighbors they barely knew. That illusion of safety was shattered on a rainy Tuesday evening when Mia Roberts vanished without a trace. She was 23 years old, a recent college graduate, and worked part-time at the Fairhaven Public Library. She was known for her shy smile, her love of old books, and her predictable routine. Everyone said the same thing. Mia wasn't the type to just disappear. That night, she had closed the library as usual and walked alone to her car, parked under a flickering street lamp. The rain had just started to fall, a soft drizzle that misted the pavement. Surveillance footage from the library's rear exit showed Mia stepping outside, clutching her bag. She walked halfway across the lot, then suddenly stopped. For 10 full seconds, she stood perfectly still, staring at something just outside the camera's view. Then she took one slow step backward and vanished. When Mia didn't return home, her roommate reported her missing by morning. Her phone was found. Later that day, lying face down in the parking lot near where she was last seen. The screen was cracked, but strangely, it was still on and unlocked. The last app she had opened was her voice recorder. The file was only 5 seconds long. It contained a single sound, a low, rhythmic tapping, followed by what some thought might be a whisper. A full-scale search began within 48 hours. Dozens of volunteers combed the woods behind the library. Drones scanned the area from above. Police dogs picked up her scent near the lot, but lost it abruptly near the edge of the woods. No blood, no struggle, no sign of a getaway vehicle. Just silence. The town was stunned. This wasn't the city. Things like this didn't happen here. Posters with Mia's photo were stapled to telephone poles, taped to shop windows, shared on social media. Her parents made emotional pleas on the local news. Days passed. Then weeks. Nothing. Then it got worse. 3 weeks after Mia's disappearance, another woman went missing. Elena Grant, a 26-year-old waitress who lived 3 blocks from the library. Like Mia, she disappeared on a Tuesday night. Like Mia, her phone was found nearby, screen cracked, still unlocked, voice recorder open with 5 seconds of eerie static. Panic began to spread. People started walking in groups, installing cameras, keeping their lights on at night. Yet somehow, 2 more women vanished over the following month. Same day of the week. Same eerie silence. 4 disappearances. All women, all Tuesday nights, and no witnesses, no suspects. It was then the police finally noticed the first strange connection. All 4 women had recently borrowed the same obscure book from the Fairhaven Library, a novel that hadn't been checked out in nearly 30 years. It was called The Red Feather. What was initially thought to be a random disappearance now looked like the beginning of something far darker. As the town of Fairhaven reeled from the growing list of missing women, investigators began digging into every possible connection between the victims. Their lives didn't overlap socially or professionally. They had different routines, different friends, different parts of town they called home. But one small, curious detail kept surfacing during background checks. Each woman had recently borrowed the same book from the local library, a tattered, hardbound novel titled The Red Feather. The book wasn't listed in the library's digital catalogue. It had been part of an old, uncatalogued donation from decades earlier, shelved in a dusty back corner with other forgotten titles. Bound in dark red leather, the spine cracked from age, It appeared harmless at first glance. The cover was simple, with no author listed. The only marking was an embossed feather, barely visible unless caught in the right light. Curious, the lead investigator had the book pulled from the shelves for examination. Inside, things quickly took a strange turn. Several pages had been dog-eared, oddly specific sections near the middle of the book. Even more disturbing, one word was underlined over and over in fading red ink: Watcher. It appeared repeatedly, always in scenes involving mirrors or reflections. As if that wasn't strange enough, tucked deep into the spine of the book was a single crimson feather, a real one, fragile, slightly curved, with no explanation for how it had gotten there. The book's contents were equally unsettling. It told the story of a young woman who begins seeing her reflection move on its own, smiling when she isn't, staring when she looks away. The story grows increasingly erratic, filled with cryptic language, until the protagonist vanishes into a mirror. There was no resolution. The final page was completely blank. While investigators processed the strange find, another incident pushed the case into even darker territory. A fifth woman, Lila Denning, contacted police after seeing a news segment about the disappearances. She had also borrowed the red feather weeks earlier and claimed to be experiencing something wrong. She refused to speak in detail over the phone, but agreed to come in the next day to explain everything. That meeting never happened. Lila vanished on a Tuesday night, just like the others. That same week, an anonymous envelope was delivered to the police station. It contained a single Polaroid photo of Mia Roberts. She looked pale but unharmed, her eyes wide and lifeless. She was standing in front of a tall antique mirror. Behind her was only darkness. On the back of the photo, written in neat handwriting, was a message. "You're looking in the wrong place." Detectives analyzed the image for clues. There were no identifiable landmarks, no windows, no signs of where she might be. Just the mirror, the girl, and that chilling black void behind her. One detail stood out: a strange shadow in the reflection that didn't match anything in the room around her. As word of the photo spread, so did the fear. Rumors started circulating about the book being cursed, about mirrors being dangerous, about a watcher that came for you if you read too far. The town that once felt safe had changed. Curtains were drawn, mirrors were covered, and every Tuesday night, people waited, afraid they might be next. With the book now at the center of the investigation and another woman missing, the focus shifted to identifying where the strange photo of Mia had been taken. Investigators began comparing the image to every known location in Fairhaven: abandoned buildings, local museums, storage units, but nothing matched. Then, a retired librarian came forward with a detail that shifted the entire case. She remembered the red feather being part of a private collection donated years ago by a man named Daniel Crowley. Crowley had been a reclusive artist who lived on the outskirts of Fairhaven in a Victorian-style home atop Sycamore Hill. Locals remembered him as eccentric but polite, often seen walking through town with paint-stained hands and a distant look in his eyes. He disappeared more than a decade earlier after his wife died under mysterious circumstances. Her death had been ruled accidental, but rumors lingered. Whispers of strange noises, rituals, and a room filled with mirrors. The house had sat empty ever since, slowly being swallowed by the surrounding forest. No one had dared venture inside in years. Armed with a search warrant, a team of investigators arrived at the Crowley house. Overgrown vines choked the exterior. The air smelled of mildew and decay. Inside, the floors creaked under every step, and the walls were lined with dusty paintings, hundreds of them. Each canvas depicted the same unsettling theme: a lone woman standing in front of a mirror, her eyes never meeting the viewer's gaze, but always fixed on her own reflection. Some were detailed, others frantic and rough, as if painted in a fevered state. In one room, a painting brought everything to a halt. It showed Mia, clearly her, painted in striking detail, standing exactly as she had in the Polaroid, in front of the same antique mirror. Her expression was identical. It was now undeniable that she had been in this house. The search intensified. Downstairs they found more: a basement filled with antique furniture, rusted tools, and an old film projector. Nearby was a dusty cabinet containing dozens of unlabeled VHS tapes. Each one was dated with a Tuesday, stretching back nearly a year. The tapes were rushed to a lab for analysis. As police continued their search, a locked steel door in the basement caught their attention. It had no visible handle, just a large keyhole covered in rust. It would take time to open it, but they knew whatever was behind it had been sealed, away for a reason. Back at the station, the first tape was played. What they saw was deeply unsettling. It showed Eleanor Grant, the second woman to go missing, sitting alone in a small, dark room, reading The Red Feather aloud. Her voice trembled, and her eyes kept drifting to something behind the camera. At no point did she acknowledge being recorded. Then, the tape cut to static. One by one, more tapes were reviewed. Each showed a different woman, each reading the book, always in the same room. A room with bare walls, one chair, and a single, ornate mirror. And yet nowhere in the house had that room been found. The locked steel door in the basement of Daniel Crowley's house became the investigators' focus. It was unlike anything else in the old home, heavy, cold to the touch, and sealed tightly with a thick padlock that had rusted over time. It took nearly 2 hours and specialized tools to force it open. Behind the door was a narrow crawl space that led to a hidden hallway, barely wide enough for a person to pass through. The walls were lined with broken mirror shards, some hanging loosely from nails, others shattered on the ground, crunching under every footstep. At the end of the hallway stood another door, this one wooden, painted black, and carved with strange, swirling symbols. When it was pushed open, the room beyond sent a chill through everyone present. It was circular, with no windows and no visible light source. Yet the entire space glowed with a dim, unnatural brightness. 7 tall antique mirrors were placed in a perfect circle, all facing inward. In the center sat a single wooden chair. There were no cameras, no cords, no signs of filming equipment, but every surface reflected the space endlessly, creating the illusion of infinite rooms. The mirrors were pristine, no dust, no fingerprints, almost as if someone had been maintaining them. The walls were covered with handwritten notes. Scraps of paper, torn pages, and old diary entries were pinned haphazardly, filled with cryptic messages, phrases repeated over and over. She watches through the glass. The reflection is not yours, and to read is to see is to vanish. Many of the writings mentioned a mirror hour, always referenced as 8:47 p.m., the exact minute Mia had been seen on the library's camera before vanishing. One chilling note stood out. It simply read, "She is not gone. She is watching." We opened the way. The team was shaken. Forensics found fingerprints throughout the room, but many belonged to people who should not have been there. Mia Roberts, Elena Grant, and 2 of the other missing women. Their prints were fresh, despite no signs of anyone entering the room in over a decade. Stranger still, the 7th mirror had something no one expected. A small, perfectly centered handprint, pressed from the inside of the glass. In the following days, the investigation took a more technical turn. The camera hidden behind one of the hallway mirrors had been recording and streaming live footage to an encrypted server. Digital forensics traced the IP address and made a chilling discovery. The stream was being accessed from inside the Fairhaven Police Department. A private workstation in the records office had been used to log in and watch the footage multiple times each week. The activity spiked every Tuesday at exactly 8:47 p.m. The login credentials were traced to someone deeply embedded in the investigation. It wasn't a hacker or an outsider. It was one of their own. The department fell silent. Suspicions turned inward. Files were pulled. Every movement was reviewed. And then, quietly, Officer Lane Matthews vanished. The disappearance of Officer Lane Matthews sent shockwaves through the Fairhaven Police Department. He had been one of the lead investigators on the case, praised for his dedication and tireless efforts. Now, without warning, he had simply vanished. His car was found abandoned near a rest stop on the outskirts of town, keys still in the ignition. Inside, officers discovered a handwritten note on the passenger seat. "You were right. She watches." What followed was a full internal investigation. Matthew's computer was seized and examined by digital forensics. Hidden deep within an encrypted folder, they found over 300 gigabytes of video files, recordings taken from the hidden camera in the mirror room. Many of the clips had never been seen before. They showed not just the missing women, but Lane Matthews himself, seated, alone in the circle of mirrors. He stared into the glass, never speaking, rarely moving. Sometimes the footage would cut suddenly, and when it resumed, he would be in a different position, as if time had skipped or been altered. More disturbing were the newer clips. The last dozen videos were dated after Matthews had disappeared. In them, a woman sat in the chair. It was Mia Roberts. She looked unchanged, still 23, wearing the same outfit from the night she vanished. But something was different. Her expression was blank, almost doll-like. She never blinked, never looked away from the mirror. Even more unsettling was that her reflection didn't match her movements. Sometimes it would smile when she didn't. Other times, it would seem to glance directly at the camera, as though aware of being watched. Then came a twist no one could explain. 6 months to the day after Mia first went missing, a hiker discovered human remains buried in a shallow grave nearly 15 miles from the Crowley house. DNA confirmed the body was Mia Roberts. The condition of the remains indicated she had died within 24 hours of disappearing. Her cause of death was never officially determined, though there were signs of extreme fear. Muscle contractions, clenched fists, eyes wide open. She had died terrified. Yet the video stream continued. Every Tuesday at 8:47 p.m., a new clip uploaded to the same hidden server. Each time, Mia sat in the mirror circle, unmoving. Behind her, shadows sometimes flickered. Reflections shifted. Occasionally, a faint sound could be heard. A whisper, a breath, the soft scrape of wood. It was never the same, but always chilling. Experts, spiritualists and skeptics all weighed in. Some claimed it was a digital hoax. Others believed the mirrors were a portal, that the Crowley house had been a vessel for something ancient. A few insisted that Daniel Crowley hadn't created the art. He had documented something real. The mirror room was sealed. The tapes were locked away. But every week, the videos kept coming. And in the last recording to surface, something changed. For the first time, Mia turned her head, slowly, deliberately. and looked directly into the lens. She smiled. Then the screen went black. The stream has not returned since,